just got to lean on yourself.
And welcome back to Red Card. I'm your host, Anthony Totera. Once again, thanks to Jeff Carlisle of ESPN joining us live from Brazil, talking to us about the final on Sunday. Argentina and Germany should be a wonderful matchup to watch. But right now, a wonderful guy to watch in the last number of seasons in MLS with the Houston Dynamo. A guy, for my money, is top 3, if not top 2, in that department, in goalies department, is Tally Hall of the Houston Dynamo. Tally, welcome again to Red Card, my friend.
Well, thanks for having me back.
Hey, pleasure to have you on. Tally, first and foremost, before we start talking about the game on the weekend against TFC, I want to get your thoughts on this World Cup in Brazil. It has been a World Cup, Tally, that has been a World Cup of great goalie performances. Obviously, Tim Howard standing on his head, but also you saw Ochoa of Mexico, Romero yesterday. We could go on and on and on. This has been fantastic for a guy like you and others in that position to watch. Tell me what you have enjoyed in this World Cup in that goalie department.
Well, you're absolutely right. There have been some amazing goalkeeper performances, especially past the group stage. I did think there was some suspect goalkeeping in the group stage. I think there was maybe a little bit too much diving the wrong way. To me, that's guessing, and it just kind of goes against the grain of how I try to be a goalkeeper. But the knockout rounds have been absolutely phenomenal to watch for goalkeeping. Obviously, with Tim Howard, Ochoa had. I mean, every game he seemed like he was up to the task. But what a World Cup! I mean, so many games just so filled with drama and goals and goalkeeping. It's been one that I think we'll talk about for a while.
And I think, Tally, it's safe to say that CONCACAF now has put the rest of the world on notice that we're here. We're not pushovers. Be ready. Mexico, USA, and Costa Rica. Let's not forget Navas. What a performance he had all World Cup. Have really put the world on notice that we belong with the elite out there.
Yeah, I think it definitely kind of sends a message that maybe we deserve more spots as well. I mean, we consistently do well. We consistently battle and compete against teams from all over the world. I think it's definitely an underrated part of the world that soccer-wise needs to get more recognition.
Tally, it's got to be great now that in demand the U.S. player in Europe is really the hot commodity right now. We see DeAndre Yedlin of the Sounders. We see Matt Beasler of Sporting Kansas City Champions. We can go on and on. Altidore, Bradley just came back. Dempsey came back. But it's great to see now that the players, the young kids in the US of A, can have guys that they can look up to and buy their jerseys. And not like, we always see the kids with the jerseys from European clubs. Now you're starting to see kids with USA jerseys. How great is that to see?
I think it's so cool. I mean, I was watching, I forget what game, and it's like a Sounders jersey popped up in the stands. And I was like, you know what? I'm not a Sounders player, but that's MLS, and I definitely think that's part of the league growing. I think that's part of the level getting better, and I think the reason American players are wanted and MLS players are wanted is because it's a league that you have to fight and you have to have passion, and there's that tangible fighting spirit that you could watch with the U.S. where maybe we weren't as talented as other teams, but we are competing and we are advancing over teams because of that fighting spirit. And other countries don't have that. I lived in Denmark for 2 years. I've been to Europe. It's a real thing, and I think teams see the value in that almost X factor when you're playing beautiful games.
Tally, I'm in contact daily with my colleagues in Italy, where I'm from, and they're not shocked at the performance the Americans put in, or the Mexicans. As we know from 2006 in that World Cup, they know what the Americans can do. They're still in shock, though, on the rise of the young American players and how fast that they're developing. And I got to be honest, I got to give a lot of credit to the NCAA. I've had a lot of coaches on. Some of them are friends coaching in big schools. They've done a great job. I'll take as an example University of Maryland. They've produced world-class players in so many other universities. In your mind, do you believe that NCAA has helped MLS in many ways to help the league, exceed expectations with the development of these players?
Absolutely. I think there should always be a place for college players in Major League Soccer. There are some players that are good enough from high school to go into pros, and I can tell you that I was a backup goalkeeper for my club team through the youth ranks. I never made regional ODP. I was never on the national team, and so for a guy like me, I needed college. I needed NCAA, and some of that fighting spirit I think kind of comes from our culture of having college teams not getting paid, but fighting for that kind of fighting for your school, fighting for pride, and that absolutely carries over. It's something that I think is ingrained in our society and should definitely stay in the sport.
Tally, just before we turn our attention to your upcoming game in the MLS season, who is your World Cup champion in 2014, Argentina or Germany?
I don't know. I would like to see Argentina win it. I think Messi was so much kind of who's the best player in the world, and the way he is. At least he seems humble. He seems like a guy that you want on your team for all the right reasons. As a human, as a soccer player, to see him crowned as obviously for his country, but basically world champion. I think he deserves it on his resume, and I would be kind of thrilled for him to see him hold that trophy up.
Great of you to tell us who you think will win. Argentina, I would say that a lot of people are really supporting here in the CONCACAF nation area. Tally, let's talk about your upcoming game against TFC. It's going to be a key matchup. You guys are sitting in 7th spot, out of a playoff spot. TFC, obviously, we know all the signings they've made. They're sitting in 4th, and they're taking off a real tough loss against DC United on the weekend. 2 really ugly goals they gave up and mistakes, and they're wounded, and you guys are hungry. What are the keys to your success to come away with a result on the weekend?
Obviously a different TFC than what we faced last year, and I think coming into Toronto has always been a difficult place to play. It's always a battle. It always seems like it comes down to the last second. Obviously, defensively, you have to be aware of where our weaknesses are. You have to be aware of where Toronto's going to have time and space on the ball. Obviously, you don't want Bradley having time and space on the ball to make the passes that he's able to make, and you don't want to give Defoe any time and room to run. I mean, if those situations happen, then they're going to have the advantage, and when offensive players have the advantage, bad things happen for us. So we really have to be aware and conscious to not let those players get time and space.
It's got to be nice, Tally, though, to have Jermaine, Corey, and David back to help you out. They're coming back after injuries. That, I think, will help go a long way into success on the weekend for you.
Yeah, I mean, we obviously have struggled with injuries, and so the more players you have back, it helps the team. It helps training. Trainings are sharper, more intense, and that carries over to the game. So the more players that we have healthy, ready to go, the better our team's going to be on the weekend.
Tally, let's talk about a little bit this Eastern Conference. To me, I got to be surprised. I got to be honest, I'm surprised with DC United sitting at the top of the table. Here's a team that really revamped itself in the offseason, picking up guys, signing guys from different teams. They've been put together from all over the place, and to me, I think their coaching staff has done an outstanding job. They're sitting at the top of the table. I'm a little bit shocked, to be honest, and looking at a team like Chicago, with guys in that lineup that aren't producing a lot more where they're at. What are your thoughts of this crazy early season in the Eastern Conference?
It has been crazy. obviously we're disappointed with the first half of the season, and we got a bit of a chip on our shoulder with the second half, and we have a point to prove. But I feel like everyone has had their ups and downs. Everyone's kind of been beating each other up. So it's one week can be one thing, and then the next week you almost see different teams on the field. I think that goes not that it's inconsistent, but it's that it's consistently such a high level across the board, across the Eastern Conference, that you can't afford to have a bad day. You can't afford to have even a handful of guys, 3 or 4 guys are underperforming. Well, the other team is skilled enough that they're going to take advantage of that, and so it is difficult to have 11 guys on the field playing at their peak performance. I mean, it's rare, even in professional sports. Everyone has their good days and bad days, and so I think you're seeing in the league now that the league is it's good. It's healthy competition, but it also means that I don't think any one team is really going to run away with anything.
Tally, this home and home, safe to say, is a real crucial for your squad that's not sitting in a playoff position to really get results in both, I would imagine.
Yeah, well, we didn't have the first half of the season that we wanted, and now we have the second half of the season to basically make up for it, and so that doesn't mean getting a lot of draws and losing a couple of games. That means we have to start winning games, and we have to start winning, I think, the majority of the games left. That's always the goal, but now it's getting closer to crunch time, and so having a home and home series against another team in the Eastern Conference is an opportunity for us to move forward, and we know Toronto's thinking the same thing. So there's no lack of battle and fight from each team.
Tally, as we close it out, we really appreciate your time, but I can't let you go without talking a little bit about your community initiative and what you're doing with the injured and disabled veterans. I'm so grateful that a guy like you in the position that you're at, playing professional soccer, is giving back, especially to the veterans. I mean, so many other charities are helped in so many different ways, and that's great. But a lot of times we neglect these veterans, and I'm glad you haven't. Talk about what you, and also, if I'm not mistaken, teammate Brad Davis are doing with the veterans.
Yes, sir. Brad Davis and I, Brad originally had Brad's Brigade, which is a team initiative, and I would help as much as I can with that. And a couple of years ago, Brad and I decided that we needed to start our own 501c3 charity. So we started Banded Brigade Outdoors, which is a charity that takes men and women and their families from the military, whether they're active duty or veteran. We want to take them and give them the best hunting experience, fishing experience, outdoor experience that we can possibly do, and that's our little way of giving back. So it's very personal. We're passionate about it. This isn't just an athlete having a charity for good publicity. This is something we care deeply about. We try to make as many hunts as we can, but it's very much a hands-on experience, and we're trying to build relationships because in the end of the day, I think, looking at your life, you only have the people that you're around, and so it really is about giving the veterans who have done so much for us a great outdoor experience, and we try to continue to carry that relationship forward.
Tally, I thank you, and God bless you for doing this, because I had a grandfather who fought in World War II for his country, and I'll never forget the few times I did have to speak to him about it, and I got goosebumps about you talking about that. So I thank you on a personal level. God bless you for giving back, and Brad Davis. Good luck the rest of the season, and again, we really appreciate you taking time joining us, my friend.
Well, thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure.